My name is Jim Furlong, and I own Last Vestige Music Shop in Albany. Since 1989, the store has opened up. Prior to that, I was mail order only from 1984.
What's your location here?
173 Quail Street, right in the pretty much central part of the city of Albany. I have been a record buyer since I was a little boy and love music. Found myself amongst other various jobs and college endeavors, always going back to working at a few different record stores in the late 70s through the early 80s. And with the knowledge I had based on experience and love of music, I was able to parlay that into mail order business at first, like I said, and then from there took the leap in '89 into the record store right when everybody else was getting rid of records. When I started in the early '80s, it was pretty much typing up your lists. The computers were very, very primitive at that point, so there was nothing like the internet so much, so to speak. So you typed up lists, you went to the printer, printed out the lists, and you had a mailing clientele that you developed, and you sent out lists all over the U.S. and overseas to collectors for the particular type of genre that I was dealing in. Well, the experience of buying in an actual retail space of music, the selection that you can visually look at here, if you're an adventurous person when it comes to music, and you don't just immediately walk in and go to the heavy metal section only, or the hip hop section only, or the classic rock section, and you want to educate yourself, you can wander down into the basement here, go through the vocal albums, soundtracks, spoken word records of various things, historical, comedy records. Upstairs, the folk, country, blues section, the easy listening. There's so much music that this store has if you want to expand your horizons musically and gain some knowledge. And the fact that we offer the listening booths up front, which was something that I can say that I don't know about the rest of the country, but in 1989 when I opened, nobody was offering that. I remember as a kid my mother telling me that when she was a kid going into record stores in the 40s and right through the 50s, you could play the record before you bought it. Good thing about coming in here, or any record store worth its salt. Selection. Try to carry some new vinyl here, but the prices I think that the manufacturers charge now for vinyl is a little confiscatory. They should really come down and make them, they could sell so much more, I think, if they just dropped their prices and put out a standard 120, 130 gram vinyl like your regular records always were. Instead, they're putting out these records on 180 gram special edition, remastered supposedly, or, you know, just give me an album that we can put out in the store for $12 to $15 retail so that everybody can have it and check it out. I think they'd sell even more than the increased vinyl sales that they have going right now. There's a lot I don't buy because of that, because, you know, I'll go up to Barnes & Noble's, for example, and I'll look in their vinyl section, and all the albums are $25, $30, $35. For especially reissues of you know, the Led Zeppelin albums and everything. I mean, we've carried them before and they sell, but I almost feel like some bucks wholesale to carry it in the store, and I can only sell it for a few more dollars if I want to compete with somebody online who doesn't have a brick and mortar building, you know. And it just, to me, it's a rip-off. In the 90s and early 2000s is a company out of Pennsylvania, the Philly area, called Scorpio Music, and they are still in business. They, when nobody was cared, they were going to all the major labels and getting the rights to all these albums from the 60s and 70s, a lot of obscure Latin records, jazz albums, rock records that were out of print, that some of them you could find used, but a lot of them you couldn't. And they were buying the rights, putting them out. You could buy them for $6, $8 wholesale, sell them for $12, $15 in the store, and it was great. But a lot of those records now they've lost the rights to, because it's only so many years, and now somebody else grabs the rights, and they're going to do the 180-gram version and charge 3 times as much wholesale than you could have got it for. I am not of the iTunes. I'm sorry. I still.
You don't own an iPod or?
No, I do not have any of that. I still enjoy, if I want to hear something. I don't care. In my car, I listen to talk radio or an oldie station sometimes. Something that's playing, again, pop music from the 50s and 60s, as opposed to like classic rock. I've had enough of it. So I enjoy that, and then and at home playing my records at the house. So I think somebody would just keep going as long as there's a market, and I don't know how long it's going to last. I mean, obviously this technology of LP 33 1/3 and 45s has been around since 1948, when the first LP was made, and I think the first single was right around the same time, and it's withstood near 70 years now of people buying them, even though there was a big push to get rid of the technology in the mid 80s into the early 90s by the U.S. manufacturers. The people who like the sound and like holding something and owning something that is music, and the history and the cover, I mean the whole boat of the whole thing is I just think the fact that it's still surviving and has even gotten more popular in the last few years dramatically just says that I think it's going to go on for a while. We tried, but Record Store Day has become a bit of a sore subject for a lot of people. Over the years, when it first started, of course, it was pretty cool, but this whole business of manufacturing these limited release records for Record Store Day has become kind of a real pain for people, especially in the business. Again, I don't order a ton of new vinyl, so when Record Store Day releases are available, I have a hard time getting them from the distributors. The amount of that are made, you suddenly see, I know people who have bigger chains, stores, and they get a great fill on all the releases. Some smaller people, they'll order 10 of something for their customers, and when the shipment comes, there's only 2 because they're giving them out to other people who they feel are better. And then within the day of the Record Store Day, you see on eBay, these records are all just being thrown up to try to cash in and make tons of money off of it. And it kind of just takes away the whole spirit. So we don't really carry much, if any, on Record Store Day of the titles, because it's a I don't know, it's a kind of a scam in my mind too. In fact, they're on Facebook, somebody posted just yesterday, there was a big record chain noticed to everybody that they are fed up with Record Store Day and they're not going to participate either because of the shenanigans with these releases and trying to get them for your customers. And it just seems like whoever's has all these copies of things, they divvy them out to special people, and a lot of people I think are getting them ahead of time, and they have no intention of putting them in the store, but just sitting on them and then putting them on eBay themselves to make a ton of money. So it's really, we try to, every year we have a sale that week, and we just call it, every day is Record Store Day at Last Vestige, and we're having a sale in honor of that weekend, but we don't carry any of the stuff per se. Last year, or earlier this year, let me see, where are we now? No, towards the end of last year, when Taylor Swift's newest album came out, there was vinyl of it. And we were ordering, at that time, just a bunch of records for the store. I forget what for. But we had, so I said to the guy, I said, put a couple of Taylor Swift's albums on there, and he looked at me like, really? I said, yeah, and they were gone. They were gone within like the next day we got them. So I don't put her in the category of Justin Bieber. I'm just saying I think Taylor Swift is a pretty savvy businesswoman and good pop artist, and I just felt like I'm going to have people walking in here who are going to say, oh, the new Taylor Swift record. And I was right.